Let's get this shoe on the road. Good evening, everybody.
Woo. Evening.
Welcome to Lauren Live. If you think I'm funny
Yay.
tonight, my name is Doc Grun. If you don't, my name is Lauren Whalen. Please keep that in mind. Okay?
Well, at least you're not pitting it on me.
This person to my left, I have no fucking idea who she is, but she's very nice. We're going to leave her right there. Okay. Now,
Yay.
I can't.
I am speaking to you tonight from the first time from my new crib, ladies. Okay. So the party starts after the show. It's BYOB. That's bring your own boobs. Okay. Now, before I get started,
party.
and we're going to have a lot of stuff going in a lot of different directions. We got Catboy up here.
Yep.
Jamie's going to do some stuff at 9 o'clock or 6 o'clock SO. We're going to have Sassy Nightly on here. So we're going to go pretty quick. But before I get started, I have to comment on this because this has been such a fun news week, okay? Now, everybody knows about the plane crash, Asiana Flight 214.
Yes.
And it's a miracle that nearly everybody survived, okay? But as everybody knows, this story is getting more attention almost than the crash. A local San Francisco TV station, KTVU, was doing a report and announced the pilot names in what they thought was an exclusive. They were punked by somebody on their staff because the on-air anchor woman with a straight face, as the screen behind her proudly displayed the names, announced the pilots' names as Sam Ting Wong, Wee Tu Lo, Holy Fuck, and Bang Ding Ao. Holy fuck! He was the navigator. Okay, Bang Ding Ao. I think he was the steward.
Wasn't he? Right.
Yeah. Now, after issuing an apology for the snafu, the station KTVU added that the names of the pilots had been confirmed by the NTSB. There was some Jewish attorney named Stu Pidfucker. Okay. Now he's of the Anaheim. He's of the Anaheim Pidfuckers. Now they were immigrants. Okay. They were Jewish immigrants, came to this country with only $13 million in their pockets. God bless them. And,
be careful.
you know, they, as most immigrants do, they shorten their name, or he would have been called Stu Pid Motherfucker. Okay, but they just shortened it, and he's Stu Pidfucker. Okay. Now, because I've got my, because I've got my crib set up here. One of the most important things was internet, and the second was a TV. So I bought a new flat screen, high def. It's got all the bells and whistles. Spent a lot of time walking around looking at all of them, make sure I got the right set, you know, the great picture. This one's a great picture. So we bought it, and we brought it down here. And my wife came down because I was at work, and the cable guy came in and set it all up and set the network up. And I come in that night, and they're still here, and they turned the TV on. Great picture, but it's a little dim, okay? All right, I figured, okay, it's probably a default setting. So I went into the picture settings, and I ran the brightness all the way up. Wow, it was great, you know? So I hit OK. It got bright for a second, and then it went dim. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? So I spent the entire week watching this set squinting, okay, because it's not working. I was getting pissed off. I was going to call the TV manufacturer until I decided to go into what's called the advanced picture menu, and I discovered that due to my lack of technology in TVs, this thing has a ambient light dimmer, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I turned it off, and I hit OK, and it got so bright it seared my corneas. Okay, so now I'm still sitting in the room squinting because now I'm wearing dark glasses. Okay, now my neighborhood here it's really nice. It's a quiet neighborhood except for a singles bar at the end of the apartment complex that always seems to be busy no matter what time I go by. Now, I only live here during the week. I go home on the weekends. So I figured during the week I'm technically single. So I went in to see what's drawing all the people in. Let me tell you, I saw more plastic surgery than a burn ward, okay? And for some reason, there must be a shortage of women's underwear down here because nobody was wearing any of them. I felt like I was out trolling for dates with Lauren. I was really in my element, you know? So, in honor of this bar and this little episode that I was in, during the course of the evening, we're going to sprinkle in a bunch of bar jokes, okay? And we're going to take stuff from all over, stuff that I've written, stuff other people have written, stuff that we've stolen, because a good comedian always steals a good joke. But we're going to go at it, and then we're going to have our first comedian come up here in a few minutes. So here's some walks into a bar jokes, okay? A rabbi, a priest, and a Lutheran minister walk into a bar. The bartender looks up and says, "Is this some kind of joke?" A screwdriver walks into a bar. The bartender says, "Hey, we have a drink named after you." The screwdriver says, "You have a drink named Murray?" Okay. A guy walks into a bar and asks for 10 shots of the establishment's finest single Scotch mulch. The bartender sets him up, and I've already had a couple, you can tell, and the guy takes the first shot in the row and he pours it on the floor. Then he takes the last shot and he pours it on the floor. The bartender asks him, "Why'd you do that?" And the guy says, "Well, the first shot always tastes like crap, and the last one always makes me sick." Well, that makes sense to me. Okay. A Scotsman, an Englishman, and an Irishman are sitting in a bar in New York reminiscing about home. "Back in me pub in Glasgow," brags the Scotsman, "for every 4 pint of stout I order, they give me one for free. In me pub in London," says the Englishman, "I pay for 2 pints of Guinness and they give me a third one for free." "That's nothing," said the Irishman. "In my pub back in Dublin, you walk up to the bar, they give you the first pint for free, the second pint for free, and the third pint for free. Then they take you upstairs and you have sex for free." "Is that true?" asked the Scotsman. "Has that really happened to you?" "Well, no, but it happened to me sister all the time." Horse walks into a bar. Bartender says, "So, why the long face, buddy?" Okay.
Ba-ding-ching.
Guy walks in. Okay, he didn't walk in. He's already sitting there, all right? One guy says, "I slept with my wife before we were married. Did you?" The other guy says, "I don't know. What was her maiden name?" A woman and a duck walk into a bar. The bartender says, "Where'd you get the pig?" The woman says, "That's not a pig, it's a duck." He says, "I was talking to the duck." So a guy walks into a bar looking really moody, and he orders immediately a double whiskey. Then he starts rambling on about how lousy a wife he's got until the bartender says, "You know, I don't understand what you're complaining about. All the other guys in here have nothing but compliments about your wife." Yeah. Mm-hmm. 2 guys sitting at a bar. One guy says to the other, "You know that lions have sex 10 or 15 times a night?" The other guy says, "Damn it, I just joined a Rotary Club." Fuck. Okay. Hamburger and a French fry walk into a bar. A bartender says, "I'm sorry, we don't serve food here." What do you call a bohemian that gets thrown out of a bar? A bounced check. Okay, one more, and then we're going to bring up our first comedian. Guy walks into a bar with his pet monkey. He orders a drink, and while he's drinking, the monkey jumps all over the place. Monkey grabs some olives off the bar, and he eats them. Then he grabs some sliced limes, and he eats them. Then he jumps onto the pool table and grabs one of the pool balls. To everyone's amazement, he sticks it in his mouth and somehow swallows it whole. The bartender screams at the guy, "Did you see what your monkey just did?" "No, what?" "He just ate the cue ball off my pool table whole." "Yeah, it doesn't surprise me," replied the guy. "He eats everything in sight. Sorry, I'll pay for the cue ball and stuff." So the guy finishes his drink, he pays for the stuff, and he leaves. 2 weeks later, the guy's in the bar again, and he has his monkey with him again. He orders a drink, and the monkey starts running around the bar again. While the man's finishing his drink, the monkey finds a maraschino cherry on the bar. He grabs it, sticks it up his butt, pulls it out, and then eats it. Then the monkey finds a peanut, and he sticks it up his butt again, he pulls it out, and he eats it. The bartender's disgusted. He says, "Do you see what your monkey just did?" "No, what?" "Well, he stuck a maraschino cherry and a peanut up his butt. He pulled him out and ate him." "Yeah, that doesn't surprise me," replied the guy. "He still eats everything in sight, but ever since he had to shit that cue ball out, he measures everything first now." Yeah. So
has to measure everything.
it's a groaner. It's a groaner. Okay. A guy walks into a bar after a round of golf and sits down at the table opposite a flashily dressed blonde who says to him, "I'm a hooker." He says, well, if you turn your hands on the shaft a little bit to the left, you tend to slice more. Okay. All right. Catboy, come on up here and save me from myself and stand next to my lovely and talented assistant here.
I'm going to save the day, huh? Oh, gosh. All right.
Yeah, Catboy.
I just got to wait for this thing. Come on, you. Anyways, anyone wondering why am I dressed like this? Well, there is a reason why oh, God, I had an error message? Really? Now? Go away. Go away. Now you have to do this to me? I'm live, you know. All right. Anyway, I got some news for you. If you're wondering why I'm dressed like this, I have decided to get married. Applause. This is when you should applaud.
All right.
Yay. Applaud. Now, I haven't
you need
worked
to
out
borrow
the
10
details.
lindens?
Well, I haven't worked out the details yet. You see, I don't know where. I don't know when. I don't even know who. You see, I don't have a fiance. I don't even have a girlfriend yet. So when I get those details sorted out, I'll get back to everybody because I have decided that Catboy needs a wifey. Now, during my search for a bride, what I've been doing is I have been hanging out in the most crowded place, like landing points in all of SL, and I even took pictures. And I'll bring down one from you now. Got it stuck up in the ceiling here. Oh gosh, I love pushing a camera around. Here we go. I went to two places. One of them is a landing point, which is a greeting place for new people called Ahern. Here it is, right there. Ahern Welcome Place. There it is. There's a picture of me, and there's all the people standing around. And there's another one in Korea. And there's that one. Korea. Now, you'll notice that while I'm standing there, I am standing right on top of the landing point. That's where everybody comes in, and you'll notice that no one is near me, no one is looking at me, no one is basically in my general vicinity, despite the fact that I am smack on top of the landing area. You know, but what happened was someone said that someone said in my bride hunt that I was responsible for the steady decline of SL attendance. Well, it can't be my fault because I only started yesterday. But anyway, where did I get this idea from? I got this idea actually from a TV show on Canada called Just for Laughs, where they did the exact same gag but with a woman. They dressed up a woman in a wedding gown and they put her in downtown Ottawa. And they filmed her, and she got pretty much, there was the reception that you would think she would get, where guys would just cross the street and think she's some sort of weirdo. But really, what they're really doing is they're pulling a practical joke on men, saying that we all have this sort of commitment phobia. Well, man, I'd like to announce that this gag works equally as well on women. Because I can get women to leave skid marks in my driveway if I greet them like this as a blind date. And by the way, some of those skid marks were not made by tires. Some of them walked. So there's about 5,000 lindens worth of shoe leather in my driveway. And well, if you ever heard of Just for Laughs, it's a candid camera type show in Canada. And you can't do this in the United States anymore because would you really want to go pulling a practical joke in a place that's got stand your ground laws? Let's see. What else is next? Oh, there was some news I wanted to bring up next. We're going to move on from the bride thing. I know thought I was going to milk the bride, and I was, but unfortunately, just before I signed on, I lost my comedy file, and I deleted about 5 or 6 jokes. So, and I don't know. Oh, I love the bouquet. I got this for free, actually, from one of the girls that was in our build team. And Hala from Relay for Life. We did very well in Relay for Life this week. We got second place in, was it education?
Yes.
We got second place in education, and we got third place in best overall campsite. So, and we raised almost pretty close to 400,000 lindens. Overall, it was the grand total was, what was it, 94 million lindens in total.
Wow.
So that's something
great.
like $2 million, I think. Or it's way up there.
2 million lindens, yeah.
2 million lindens. So that was a shitload of lindens. I got raised this money for cancer. Way to go. Yeah.
2 million is a grand total.
2 million is a grand total since we started the entire relay. Okay.
Relay for Life of
for this year.
Well,
Right.
Details matter,
It's,
you know.
yeah.
We don't want
Details.
saying, oh, well, you
Ah, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, well, what we got for this year was 94 million, Lyndon. If you want to know what that is in regular dollars, just divide that by 250, and I don't have a calculator handy right now. Okay, now what's up next? I wanted to talk about video games because we're sort of in one. Has anyone here played Grand Theft Auto? Grand Theft Auto 4, which has had several spin-offs actually. Anyone play that? That's one of my favorites. No one plays Grand Theft Auto. It's been around for like a long time now.
I do. I play
There's
Grand
like
Theft Auto.
four different versions of it, aren't there?
Yes, there is. Well, everyone, well, you know, the Stan Antonius and that one, but just Grand Theft Auto 4 in itself has got a whole mess of spin-offs along that theme where it's the same city over and over again, but you're playing different missions. Well, and this has been going on now for about 4 years, and finally, they have announced that they're coming out with Grand Theft Auto 5, which is coming out this September, and I'm going to show you a little preview picture of it right here. This is something that we're seeing for the first time in Grand Theft Auto because whenever you crash into a building is kind of like a solid prim. You know what I mean? It doesn't do anything, right? You just bounce off of it. You bounce off of walls, you bounce off of doors, you bounce off of buildings. There's very few things have damage physics. And what they're doing is, if you see that what this truck is doing to a wall, they said the whole world is like that. The whole world is embedded in damage physics. You can destroy anything. There's no dead buildings anymore. There's no prim buildings anymore that don't do nothing. It's all just like this. And they announced a brand new thing that's coming along, and that is you could spend money on stuff so you can buy cars. I don't know why you would want to buy a car in a game called Grand Theft Auto. You could just steal one. You know? And for me, a car never lasts more than 5 minutes anyway because I have it for 5 minutes. It's going to be on fire.
Otherwise, it would be called CarMax Auto, right?
Yeah, you know, I have it for, you know, the longest it's going to last is like maybe 2 or 3 minutes before it has so many bullet holes in it, the damn thing catches fire and explodes. So I do not want to spend my hard-earned money on a car, especially in that game. But what I'm worried about is they got this thing now that's called online play where everyone's going to share it together in the world, kind of like Second Life, where everyone's going to be in the city doing their own thing. And I'm going, well, wait a minute. Take a look at the damage that you're looking at right here, right? What happens if I spend $500,000 on a brand new condominium and some fool comes along and crashes an F-18 into it? Think about that. See that picture? It's like, yeah, that might not. So I'm thinking buying a condo might not be the best investment in a city where everyone drives like a maniac, especially with the cars they have. All right, moving on. My cat Norton, I've been discussing this with Dr. Fran actually lately. My cat Norton has been putting on a lot of weight this summer. He's been getting very heavy. Now, for a while he lost weight because he had to have jaw surgery, but now that that's healed, he's put it back on with a vengeance. And I didn't know it, but he was asleep behind my laptop on the desk, and he shifted his weight around in his sleep, and the whole desk just started to shake and shimmy, and I thought we were having an earthquake, right? I just, oh, what the hell's that? No, what the, yeah, right, because I got my headphones on, I can't hear him snoring, so I thought we were having an earthquake. So I am worried what's happening is that Norton's weight gain is due to some freaky lady out there who's feeding the neighborhood cats. Now, if you wonder if such a thing exists, there's two of them right here at Lawrence. It's Haley and Dr. Fran feed people's cats in the neighborhood. I swear to God, if you ask them, they will tell you this. They walk in, they feed other people's cats. And I just thought this was a gag that came up on The Simpsons one time. I said, nope, there are people who actually do it, and they're right here. Just so you know. Okay, I'm going to move on to a couple of true stories. Some of them are a little bit unfortunate. This month, the game developer for Milton Bradley, Charles Foley, passed away. Does anyone remember him?
Yes.
Charles Foley is the man who invented the game Twister, or as my teenage self knew it, this is my opportunity to touch boob. And also, I picked up a true story about the life of Miles Davis. Does anyone remember Miles Davis? He was greatly influential in the music industry. In 1987, he was invited to a dinner at the White House, where Miles, unfortunately, if anyone remembers the life of Nancy Reagan and Ronald Reagan, Ronald had a sort of a bad breakup with a former wife, and Nancy Reagan sort of well, they're accusing Nancy of stealing him away. Miles Davis actually knew the lady, so there's some bad blood there. And when Nancy actually approached Miles Davis, she went up to him and she said very indignantly, "What have you done with your life to earn a dinner at the White House?" And Davis looked her right in the eye, and he said very calmly, "I have changed the course of music about 5 or 6 times in my career. What have you done besides fuck the president?"
There
Oh,
you
wow.
go.
Wow.
That's good.
Zing. All right, now last one, very last thing I'm going to tell you. It's a strange true story. How many people here have been to the Hall of Presidents in Walt Disney World or Disneyland?
Yes,
both
been a
of them
while
have it.
that I've
Okay.
been there.
Oh, I have.
Okay, now, actually, I hear they're much more advanced these days because they got like much more advanced servos and motors. They're much more. They've got facial expressions now, and they blink and they can smile. Well, they do all kinds of things, and you would expect that because these things have been around since 1964. Now, 1964, when this stuff was just invented, it was a really big deal. And if you remember, 64 was the year of the New York World's Fair, and Disney wanted to debut the very first robot of the Hall of Presidents at the World's Fair just to freak everybody out, saying, "Look what we can do," right? Now, they before they were going to show it to everybody, they had a bunch of dignitaries who were going to view it first. Now, back in those days, they did not have servos and motors. It was run by hydraulics. Now, does
Correct.
anyone remember what is the color of hydraulic fluid when you have small hydraulics?
Red.
It's actually red.
That's
It's
red.
dyed red.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's red. So what happened was, while the robot was in front of all the people giving its speech and everything, it malfunctioned. One of the hydraulic brakes, or the fluid carriers, busted inside the carapace. It sprayed fluid all over the inside of his white shirt. And what happened was the people watching it, all of a sudden they see the robot malfunction and collapse, and red fluid was gushing out of his white shirt. And the dignitaries, I swear to God, they got up and they applauded and they said, "You just recreated Lincoln's assassination." They actually thought it was part of the show. Isn't that just the
Wow.
most bizarre thing ever? So, and that's all for tonight, everybody.
All right, Catboy.
Hey. And I'm still looking for a bride. Haven't found anyone.
I think you found one.
I'll sell you one. I got about 14 of them.
Oh, does it come in a box? Be sure to poke the air holes in it.
He has no subjects, but lots of.
That's correct. No subjects, but lots of slaves. Okay, great news
God.
for NSA leaker Edward Snowden. This is big news. He's just been named Cinnabon Customer of the Month at the Moscow airport.
All
We're all very
right.
happy for him.
Woo! Oh, does he get like one of those little free coupon things where he gets a refund? You buy
we're
5
all,
Cinnabons,
we're all
you get
very
one
happy
free.
for him. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about Snowden. You know, he somehow managed to get out of the U.S. with all of the government's information. Right now, we know he's in Russia right now, but he could be in Ecuador. He could be somewhere. He remains at large, basically. Now, what are the odds of out of 350 million Americans, the only one the government wasn't watching was him? Huh? Think about that. He said he was initially. He said he's not in hiding. Okay, which would have carried a lot more weight if he'd made the announcement. If he had made the announcement from an undisclosed secret location. All right. Now, ever since the government spying scandal was exposed, sales of the novel 1984 have jumped 6,000% on Amazon. 1984, if you remember, it shows how scary it would be if society tracked everything you do. And if you want to read it, just go buy it on a website that tracks everything you do. You won't have any problems there. Edward Snowden shows up in a hotel in Hong Kong, announces to the world that he's leaked confidential national security memos and documents. Now he's gone. Where is this guy? Damn it, if there was only a way to keep track of people. What do you think? According to a poll, the majority of Americans are okay with the Obama administration listening in on our phone calls. Guys approve because they feel it increases security. Women approve because finally a man is listening to them. Applaud the women. Now, think about this. This guy blew the whistle on the NSA scandal. He's a former security worker, okay? He's a high school dropout. He was making $122,000 a year. He lived in Hawaii. He was engaged to a beautiful former ballerina, and he gave it all up. So not only is he a whistleblower, he's also a moron. President Obama said he welcomes a national debate over our surveillance policies. He said there's a debate. He said that's a debate we wouldn't have had 5 years ago. That's because we would have had it 2 weeks ago if they hadn't got caught. Now, he went to China to avoid government prosecution. That's like going to Ireland to avoid getting drunk, don't you think? The NSA has been listening in on cell phones. Everybody knows that. It's people with cell phones. You know, these people walking down the street screaming into their cell phones. They're the ones who are upset about people listening into their phone calls. I figured that one out. You know your phone's being tapped when you're hearing a conversation, you're having a conversation, and you hear the Attorney General breathing. Now, Snowden eventually fled to China, and he's very pleased with himself. He says he doesn't want to live in a society where the society monitors its people. And then he fled to China. Yeah. Now, the NSA said that they've developed a robotic bird. Have you heard about this? That looks and flies like a bird, one of those drones, to use for surveillance. So if you see a bird outside your window tweeting with a BlackBerry, it's spying on you. Okay, you can just plan on that, all right? Breaking news about something we've known about for like 7 years now, which is that your phone calls are being tracked and your emails are being accessed by the government. And married men all over the place are saying, the government? Thank God. I thought you were going to say it was my wife.
Wife. I make a list
Now,
of only one. That was a wife.
I work in D.C., okay? The White House today closed a gift shop and opened a Verizon store after it was revealed the National Security Agency seized millions of Verizon phone records. How ironic is that? We wanted a president who listens to all Americans, and now we have one, ladies and gentlemen. Now, yesterday, obviously, the FBI admitted that they do use drones on U.S. soil for domestic surveillance. FBI director told Congress that he does sometimes use drones, but he said the good news is that these drones are made in America by Americans to spy on Americans. You can't get more patriotic than that.
That's great news.
Now, Verizon has come out with a new plan because the government's been listening to all their phone calls. They're calling it the Friends, Family, and Obama plan. Okay. Now, on political front, conservative rock star Ted Nugent said he's thinking about running for president in 2016. Nugent said it's always been his dream. And Democrats, it's always been their dream, too. Yeah. Now, Elliot Spitzer, okay? Despite his prostitution scandal a couple years ago, Elliot Spitzer is running for comptroller of New York. He has a pretty good chance of winning, from what I understand. He's paying somebody $800 a day to collect signatures to put him on the ballot. He says it's the second best $800 he ever spent. Now, in a new interview, former President George W. Bush, and I got to say this, every night I go home, I drive home on the George Washington Parkway, and I pass a sign that says the George W. Bush Center for Intelligence, and it's a fucking vacant lot, I got to tell you. Now, anyhow, in a new interview, former President George W. Bush called the immigration system broken, and just not in this country. He said other countries are filled with foreigners, and we have to get them out as well.
Okay.
Now, with Anthony Weiner and Elliot Spitzer both running for political office in New York City is changing its nickname to the city that never sleeps with its own wife. Now, Pakistan says now that Osama bin Laden was able to be avoided, are you ready for this? This is true, by wearing a cowboy hat. So they couldn't see him from orbit, okay? Now, Pakistani authorities said, I guess he just got lost in a sea of other Muslims wearing cowboy hats.
Cowboy hats.
Okay, yeah. Texas Governor Rick Perry says he's not going to run for governor for a fourth term. though he hasn't ruled out running for president again. The voters have. It's just that he hasn't, okay? Now, a new report found that Mexico has just passed the U.S. as the most obese country in the world. It doesn't mean we got skinnier. It just means they're fatter than we are. But don't worry, folks. Twinkies are coming back, so we should be fine in no time, all right?
They're back today.
Yeah.
Political experts are saying Joe Biden needs to start doing more fundraising if he wants to run for president in 2016. A lot of people are saying they donate to a Biden campaign. Most of them are Republicans, but still a donation. Right? Now, President Obama is getting a new limousine that's going to have advanced night vision capabilities. Have you heard about this? The technology even has a cool name to it. It's called headlights.
Yeah.
Republicans are already trying to paint Hillary Clinton as too old to be president. In fact, a new ad claims she's so old she could be a Republican. Oh, no. Last week at the White House, President Obama presented George Lucas with the National Medal of Arts, while Joe Biden presented him with some fan mail for Yoda. That was a very touching moment. All right. Edward Snowden flew out of Hong Kong, flew to Russia. He's been in the Russian airport for weeks now, but still nobody can find him. Now, when Sarah Palin heard today that he may be incognito, she called for a full-scale invasion of cognito. God bless her. Okay. The Supreme Court has ruled that the Defense of Marriage Act is unconstitutional. Now, in West Hollywood, the gay community was out in the streets kissing each other. They went dancing. They closed up traffic. And then they heard about the ruling. So it was a pretty good day for that. Conservative Christians are very furious about this. This has made them defensive. They say they're not bigots because they're against gay marriage. Now they say they're being bullied, demonized, and discriminated against. Yeah, how's that feel? How do you think? Okay. Now, the guy who runs Chick-fil-A tweeted his disgust about the ruling. He really went public on this. He said it was a sad day for the nation because gay sex is just icky. That was his quote. He said, if you want something disgusting and unnatural lodged in your colon, it's better to be one of his sandwiches. But a lot of gays are saying that it's a great day for supporters of gay marriage because of same-sex couples. You can now be as miserable as all the rest of us. God bless you. Okay.
Yay!
President Obama was on a week-long trip to Africa where he promoted freedom, democracy, and economic opportunity. I guess he figured it hasn't worked here. Let's try it someplace else, okay? Now, true story, very sad story. The Girl Scouts announced that their pension plan has a $347 million deficit. The Girl Scouts are $347 million in debt in addition to it teaching girls about camping, it's also preparing them for careers in government. I think that's very nice.
Why do they have a pension?
That's a good question, but the price I pay for a box of cookies, somebody's getting funded. Now, according to the polls, Anthony Weiner, that name just gets me. Anthony Weiner is a favorite to become the next mayor of New York City. How many of you have seen the Weiner poll? Okay. Anthony Weiner is out in front.
The Weiner poll.
Anthony Weiner is out in front. Isn't that what got him in trouble in the first place? It's going to be a long campaign, folks. All the guy has to do is stick it out. I hope he doesn't get too cocky, but I'm heard he has a firm lead, and his popularity is swelling. Okay? Now, yeah. Okay. In the middle of all these scandals, President Obama has gotten some good news today. The IRS ruled that he can write off the first half of his second term as a total loss. So good for him as far as taxes are concerned. Now, the American Medical Association has declared officially obesity is a disease. People are already taking advantage of this. They're calling in sick with a case of the fats. I may do that tomorrow.
Can't come to work today, too fat.
I got a case of the fats.
Too
Now,
fat, can't get my jeans up.
Couple more of them. That's why they made stretch bands, Haley. Okay. Mitt Romney's former campaign manager has launched a super campaign to stop Hillary Clinton from becoming president. It makes sense when you think about it, because if there's one thing Romney's campaign is good at, it's stopping somebody from becoming president.
Okay.
It was a bad week for the stock market 2 weeks ago. Yesterday was so bad the numbers look worse than a Paula Deen talk show on the BET network. Stocks are dropping like a Super Bowl ring into Vladimir Putin's pocket. That's how bad it was. Now, did you hear about this? Last night, the White House staff played a softball game against a team of marijuana lobbyists, okay? Which explains why there were 20 hits before the game even started. Okay. Now, because it's summertime, all the summer's shows are going to be reruns. That's a programming reminder from the White House.
Yep.
Okay. Now, the latest search. Do you hear about this one? The latest search for Jimmy Hoffa has been called off. The FBI now says they've called off the search because the NSA said it would be too difficult to find Jimmy Hoffa because he hasn't made a phone call since 1975. President Obama is in Berlin, Germany. Okay, it was 97 degrees in Berlin. It's hot everywhere right now. I haven't seen him sweat since yesterday. And the day before that. And the day before that. Okay. Let's bring up Jamie. Jay Wills, come on up here and give us some of your expert opinionated.
Jamie!
Call me an expert, sir. It worries me when somebody calls me an expert, because then I actually
You should be so proud.
the story. She can talk about her side of it when she's on stage a little bit, but I swear to you, true story. She was the first musical act I ever saw in Second Life. Now, that happens a lot in Second Life. You find music and you're like, oh, this is cool. The problem is I had been in Second Life about 3 weeks and I didn't have a freaking clue what I was doing. I didn't know what the etiquette was. I didn't know anything, right? And so I go to the show, I turn on the music stream, and I hear this woman's voice and I'm like, damn, she's hot. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to make friends with her, right? I'm going to make friends with her. And so I start doing what you should never do. And every time that I saw her online, I would just send her an I am. Like, hey, what's up? How you doing? Hey, what's up? Nice to see you. And she got so tired of it that at some point, she quit Second Life. You know what I did? I chased her to MySpace. That's what I did. That's how bad I was. I knew nothing about anything online at that point. I chased her to MySpace, sent her a message like every day. I'm like, hey, I'm that guy. Remember me? But I think she came out okay because I may have been a stalker, but now she's getting paid by me. So which one of us came out on top? I mean, you can't really beat that. I kind of like that. But there's always weird stuff in Second Life. I was shopping the other day. I was on SL Exchange. I don't know what it's called now. It's changed like 8 zillion times. But do you people realize that there is a section for used items on the SL Marketplace?
Yes.
Can somebody explain this to me? Because right now I'm pretty scared. First of all, what do you have to do to get it for it to qualify as a used item? I have no idea. But I gotta tell you, I checked on it before the show, and now I'm really freaked out because the entire front page, I kid you not, is sex items. The first thing that you see,
Oh my God!
you see is a sex bed. I kid you not.
No. Where were you? I refuse to believe this.
No.
Go look. I'm serious. The entire first page of the thing
what a
is
world are
sex
we
items.
living in?
And that brings up what I was talking about a couple weeks ago when I was here. I don't understand why the Second Life mascot is a bear. I will submit to you again, it needs to be a sex toy. I mean, for crying out loud, they just proved it. That's it.
Well, it is a sex toy. It's a furry. There you go.
Oh,
Gotta
okay.
explain.
I hope we didn't just offend some furries, but it's true. I swear. That being said, though, there is some good.
Oh, yes,
There,
right, Dr. Fran. Huh.
I don't even really know what to do with that.
Oh,
I
that's
don't-
why the Linden started the bear thing. Aha! Now I know.
Ah, see, we're exposing things here tonight.
See, now we know. Now we're all over it. Now all we need is Inside Edition to come in to Second Life and figure
Yeah.
things out. 'cause
Get Chris
that's what
Hansen
they
to come
do.
in and invite everyone in Second Life to have a seat.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But there are some good things going on in the world right now. I saw a story today. I kid you not. Does anybody here read Reddit, the website Reddit?
Yes. Where do you think all my comedy comes from?
There was a little girl apparently in LA Children's Hospital. She has cancer. I think she has a brain tumor. This little girl apparently was born in the hospital the other day and writes on her hospital window, "Please send pizza in the room number."
Yes.
Okay. I kid you not. Please send pizza in the room number. Okay, apparently somebody on Reddit saw that and posted it on Reddit, and the little girl got so much pizza that at a certain point, the mother actually had to tell the delivery guy to stop coming. Like,
Well,
there
they had
was
enough
no
pizza for the whole floor.
Like we don't have room for this, so that's cool. At least you know you can use the internet to get some free stuff. Speaking of taking advantage of some situations, I'm thinking anybody with cancer really ought to be able to take advantage of whatever situations they can. But I am not immune to this. Last week I went to an amusement park, okay? And the amusement park is the only place in the world where it's good to be crippled, okay? Because not only do I get the good parking, okay, but I get to skip all of the lines,
Oh, yeah. It's
right?
good,
It's the
right.
coolest thing in the world.
If you have a
It's-
broken ankle or something, you crutches, you're.
Yeah, they get you to the front of the line so you can ride that death-defying roller coaster.
See, that's what blows my mind. That's
Bring
what I
your
was.
family with you, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I took my brother and my niece, his little girl, and we had a blast. But see, that's what blows my mind is that they will move me to the front of the line, but then they look really, really shocked when I want to get on a roller coaster that might kill me. Like seriously, like I'm already handicapped. How much worse could it get? But they actually made me. I kid you not. They actually made me sign a release for a few of the rides. And they're like,
my
if something
God.
happens to you,
you
we don't want
serious?
to be responsible. And I'm like, you just moved me to the front of the freaking line. Like, for crying out loud, man. And what's worse? What's worse about the whole thing is that, like, I when I got home, I decided to look because I'm like, this would be a really, really awesome, like, business idea if I just started pimping myself out to like random people. Okay, like
The front of the
I'm a
line.
guy in a wheelchair. You want to go to Disneyland? I'll go with you, right? Well, I look on the internet. I kid you not. This website already exists. Somebody is already doing this in Florida.
There's got to
I'm
be
like,
money in it.
I read about it. It's true.
That there has to be money in it, and I'm just sad that I didn't think of it first. Because let's face it, that's an awesome job. If all you have to do to go to work every day is ride roller coasters and eat candy, I mean, you can't get much better than that. Let's be honest. But I did. I had a blast. But the best part of the afternoon, we were about to get on a ride that was pretty death-defying. Doc just said it. You're handicapped and you're getting on death-defying rides. And my niece, who is 5, starts crying because she doesn't want her dad to go, right? So we get to the front of the line, and the ride is closed because some woman fainted in the line, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so the ride's closed. We decide we're not going. So I go over to my niece, and I'm like, why didn't you want your dad to go on the ride with me? And she's 5 years old. Keep this in mind, folks. And she says to me, because I was afraid it would make him barf. Okay, she wasn't worried about her dad getting hurt. She wasn't worried about him not coming back alive. She was afraid that he was going to puke. She's like,
All
I don't
over her.
want my dad to puke. That's a little girl, okay? That's a woman right there because she's like, I don't want the idiot that I'm with to look like a spunk. So just don't get on the ride. You know
Probably
what
beat
I'm
at the splash
saying?
zone.
I mean, that's the way it is. But we had a good time, and I swear to you, the amusement park is the only time my entire life where my brother actually claims me. Like, like he's like, yeah, that crippled guy over there, that's my brother. Yeah, that's the only time that we show brotherly love. That's just the way it is. But I will tell you, I will tell you guys one more story before I get off the stage. That there's lots of interesting situations when you're me, and like I said, being at the amusement park is definitely one of them. But there are some scarier places to be. The other day, I was out and about. I was hanging out, and this guy pulls up to me, and this just tells you about the intelligence of people. I'm on the sidewalk, okay? And this guy pulls up to me in a Corvette. He rolls down his window, and he's like, hey, you want to race?
Okay.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, what do you think? I'm going to, like hit a button and, like, some afterburners are going to pop out of the chair? Like, that's what I'm thinking when I'm talking to this guy. And so I just look at him, I smile, and I go, you see that Ferrari over there? And he's like, yeah. And I said, well, I'm really sorry, but I just burned all my rocket fuel on that guy. That's all I got for tonight. Thanks for coming out, folks.
99.
Thank you, Jay
Yay. Woo. Yay. Hey.
Always glad to see him roll on over here. All right, some more bar jokes, because after I'm through here, I want to get down and see if I can sell some underwear to some of the ladies, okay?
Okay.
An Irishman walks into a bar and he tells the bartender, I'll have 3 rounds all at once. So the bartender gets his order, but says to the man, you know, you'd probably enjoy them better if I served them to you one at a time. The Irishman says, no, it's tradition. Back in Dublin, my brothers and I would go to the pub and have a round together. I moved over here a few years ago, but I still keep the tradition. The bartender's touched by this story. So he served rounds and he went about his business. The Irishman returned for several nights and he did the same thing. Now one night he comes in and he only orders 2 rounds. The bartender says, what's the matter? Did one of your brothers die? The Irishman laughed and he says, no, I quit drinking.
Oh, God.
Now a guy walks into a bar and he sits down and he orders a beer and then another and then another until the bartender asks him to leave. He walks out the side door, and a few seconds later, he walks back in the front door. He sits down, and he orders a drink. The bartender asks him to leave. He gets up, he walks out the side door, comes right back in the front door, and he's asked to leave again. This happened 6 or 7 more times. On the 9th time, the guy says, hey, man, how many fucking bars you work in anyhow? Two guys are walking their dogs, a black lab and a chihuahua. They pass a bar. Now, the guy walking the lab says, let's go get a beer. The other guy says, well, we can't take our dogs in there. First guy says, watch this. He walks in, he orders a beer. The bartender says, sorry, you can't bring your dog in here. He says, no, he's my seeing eye dog. Oh, I'm sorry. He says, here's your beer. The other guy follows in, orders a beer also. He gets the same response. No dogs allowed. He goes, no, he's my seeing eye dog. Yeah, right, a chihuahua? Give me a break. The guy says, what? They gave me a chihuahua? Oh, Christ. Sassy Nightly coming up in 8 minutes. Now, an amnesiac walks into a bar. The bartender says, what can I get for you today? The amnesiac says, I don't know. I have trouble remembering things. The bartender says, like what? Okay, all right. Julius Caesar walked into a bar. I'll have a Martinez, he says. The bartender gives him a puzzled look and says, don't you mean a martini? Look, Caesar retorts, if I'd wanted a double, I'd have asked you for it, okay? Now, Jesus walks into a bar and says, just give me a glass of water. All right. Now, a guy with dyslexia walks into a bra. That happens to me all the time. Guy walks into a barber shop. How'd I get in here? And he says, hey, Bob Peters here? Bartender says, nope, just got hair. Think about that one, folks. Think about that one. Okay. All right. This guy walks into a bar and he asks him if he can show him something unbelievable. He'll get a free beer. The bartender says, all right. So the guy puts a hamster and 2 frogs on the bar, and all of a sudden the 2 frogs jump up and they start into a Broadway melody. Hello, my honey. Hello, my baby. Well, a man at the end of the bar says, that's amazing. I'll give you $1,000 for the frogs. The man agreed, and the guy took off. The bartender looked at him. He says, you could have gotten more for the frogs. The man said, frogs are easy. The hamster's a ventriloquist. Don't sweat it. Now, a guy walks into a bar, and he pulls a tiny grand piano out of his pocket. Then he pulls out a little guy who sits down and starts to play the piano. Where'd you get that? The bartender asks. I have a magic bottle. You rub it, and you get a wish, the customer says. The customer agrees, let the bartender try it. He pulls out a grungy old whiskey bottle. The bartender rubs it, and suddenly the room is filled with ducks. Ducks everywhere. The bartender screaming, I didn't wish for 1,000,000 ducks. The guy says, so you think I wish for a 10-inch pianist? What's the matter with you? 3 guys are drinking at a bar when a drunk comes in. He staggers up to them and he points at the guy in the middle and he says, your mom's the best sex in town. Everybody expects a fight, but the guy ignores him, so the drunk wanders off and bellies up to the bar. A couple minutes later, he walks back up, points to the same guy and says, I just did your mom, and it was sweet. Again, the guy refuses to take the bait, and the drunk goes back and he sits down. 10 minutes later, he comes back and says, your mom liked it. Finally, the guy says, for God's sake, Dad, go home. You're drunk. Okay, an Irishman walks by a bar. Hey, you know what? It could happen, okay? It could happen. It could happen. A guy walks into a bar and he yells, all lawyers are assholes. The man at the end of the bar says, I object to that remark. The guy says, why, are you a lawyer? He says, no, I'm an asshole. Little guy sitting at the bar, staring at his drink for a half an hour when this big troublemaking biker dude comes up next to him, grabs his drink and gulps it down in one swig. The little guy starts to cry. The biker says, come on, man, I was just giving you a hard time. I didn't think you'd cry. I can't stand to see a man crying. This is the worst day of my life, little guy says. I can't do anything right. I overslept and I was late to an important meeting, so my boss fired me. When I went to the parking lot, I found my car was stolen and I don't have any insurance. I left my wallet in the cab I took home. I found my wife in bed with the gardener and my dog bit me. So I came to this bar trying to work up the courage to put an end to my life, and then you show up and drink my fucking poison. My life is terrible. 2 Texas farmers, Jim and Bob, are sitting at their favorite bar drinking beer. Jim turns to Bob and says, you know, I'm tired of going through life without an education. Tomorrow I think I'm going to go to the community college and sign up for some classes. Bob thinks it's a good idea, and the two leave. The next day, Jim goes down to the college, meets a dean of admissions who signs him up for the 4 basic classes: math, English, history, and logic. Logic, Jim says. What's that? Dean says, I'll give you an example. Do you own a weed eater? Yeah. Then logically speaking, because you own a weed eater, I'd think you would have a yard. That's true, he says. I do have a yard. But I'm not done. Because you have a yard, I think logically that you'd have a house. Why, yes, I do have a house. And because you have a house, I think you might logically have a family. Why, yes, this is amazing. I do have a family. I'm not done yet, says the dean. Because you have a family, then logically you must have a wife. And because you have a wife, then logic tells me you must be heterosexual. I am a heterosexual. That's amazing. You're able to find all that out because I have a weed eater. He's excited to take the class right now, so he shakes the dean's hand and he leaves to go meet Bob at the bar. He tells Bob about his classes and how he signed up for math, English, history, and logic. Logic, Bob says. What's that? Jim says, I'll give you an example. Do you have a weed eater? No. Then you're a queer. All right, okay. A jumper cable walks into a bar. Barman says, I'll serve you, but don't start anything, okay? Man walks into a bar with a slab of asphalt under his arm and says, a beer, please, and one for the road, if you don't mind. Skeleton walks into a bar and says, give me a beer and a mop. Now, Sassy, you want to come on up here and get set up? Got a couple more things here. The Taliban, I heard, is now recruiting women to become suicide bombers. Have you heard this? And it's not easy to qualify. The women have to be able to push a car loaded with explosives because, as you know, they're not allowed to drive over there. Okay. And finally, this week, a man was arrested for jumping over the White House fence and trying to spray paint a political message. Now, you would think if he really wanted to get his message out to the president, he could have just written an email to basically anybody. Don't you think?
You know, I got a question. If the NSA is actually listening in on everyone, how come pedophiles are not being dropped off at the prison by the boatload?
Exactly.
Think about that.
And according to a Gallup poll, President Obama's approval rating has dropped to its lowest ever, 45%. Luckily for Obama, he has impeachment insurance. It's called Joe Biden, folks. I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. Sassy, come on up here and get set up. I've got 9 as the cock crows, and I appreciate you coming out. Remember, if you like me, I'm Doc. If you don't, I'm incognito. Just don't tell Sarah Palin.
Thanks. Really good.
Yay!
Sassy, go on, get up there.
Give me just a second, and
reload
we'll
to get
get
my,
her.
split
We'll
radio
get
to
her
work.
started. Give me just a second. The stream is in.
Jay
We
will
should
let
be
us
good
know
to
when we
go.
have music, if you would,
But I
please.
will check. Give me just a second. Thanks for coming out tonight, folks.